Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions. Casey's is a premier garden center and gift shop located in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They offer a wide selection of high-quality plants, landscaping materials, and home decor. They do amazing high-quality work and can help you transform your indoor and outdoor living spaces into something beautiful. So stop by Casey's Outdoor Solutions today and let them know you appreciate their support for Rock Solid Radio. Visit Casey's today at 21481 State Line Road, Lawrenceburg, Indiana. And welcome to Rock Solid Radio. This is Merle Hutchinson, joined by my lovely and amazing wife, Linda Hutchinson. How are you?
I'm good, but it's been a busy, crazy busy week.
It has, man.
You were rocking it. You were rocking it this week.
How was I rocking it?
You were amazing at our first.
Whoa, I got to get to meet me sometime.
I'm talking about the parenting workshop that we did at East Central High School.
Yes, that's right.
You were on first with Who's the Boss, and so you were fired up.
I was fired up.
And I'm sorry if you missed it. It was a great workshop, and I think that it was very informative for those that were able to make it. So
yeah, well, Who's the Boss is the first of our 4-week series. You're doing next week, which is parenting in a tech-heavy world, and so we'll just go right into that. I mean, we talk about at the very beginning of our first session with Who's the Boss. If there's one thing that we can do in this world to make it a better place, is to start in our home. Yeah. Right? And to be in our homes and to be there well. And so often, I think we just get so distracted by so many other things, and we listen to different messages about how to live life today, and we forget about really the most powerful and influential thing that we can do is work well with our family and lead our family. And that's where the Who's the Boss comes from. If there's 5 people in today's home, all 5 think they're going to lead, and it gets messy. And so, and as we've said, even the Hutchinsons struggle with these problems.
Sometimes.
They're all part of it. So, but it is something that we have to grab hold of. So those are going to be the Wednesdays in September as we continue, 7 p.m. to 8:30 over at the Performing Arts Center at East Central High School out in St. Leon, Indiana. It is an incredible facility. So even though you might feel like you're driving to the sticks, let me tell you, us people out in the sticks, we know how to put it together.
Yeah, and so it's all free. We're in 2022, by the way, if you're listening in our archives. And so we'd love to have you. And technology is next up, which would be September 14th, 2022. But it's been a crazy week and good week. And I just want to shout out to all of those healthy moms out there because we had an amazing first week in our Healthy Mom series, learning how to love. And so we had a gathering of women, and it was crazy and just so energizing to see that many hungry women who want to connect, want to grow, want to learn from each other, and want to get healthy. And so shout out to you ladies. I was so blessed to be a part of that, just a small part of that. And great team of women who are leading this and just really have a passion to connect women. So if you are not living in the Cincinnati tri-state area, then go to Healthy Moms. We have a Facebook page. It's a private group, but you can join for free, and we'd love to have you connect with us that way. Or if you are, it's every other Thursday morning at Bright Christian Church in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. So we would love to have you come with us. It's a 6-week series. We got 5 weeks left, and all moms are welcome of any age. It doesn't have to be a young mom or new mom. It's just been a really cool time.
And those are standalone topics pretty much?
So I
could show up on the third session and be okay?
Always welcome. So, definitely.
I personally probably won't show up. That would get a little weird.
Although
in today's world, you never know.
That's right. Yeah. So it's been a great week, busy week. So we're recording to catch our breath.
yeah, it's good. We're sitting down.
Yeah.
So, today we better thank our sponsors. I'm getting all ahead of myself. It's getting crazy. We want to thank Maxwell Construction and Casey's Outdoor Solutions for, again, contributing and supporting to Rock Solid Radio and the work that we do here. So we want to thank those sponsors. And I also want to put a shout out for the pregnancy care centers in our area. You and I are both connected and affiliated with the pregnancy care centers centers in our area. And just this past week, we had our annual Pregnancy Care Center banquet at the one that I'm associated with, Pregnancy Care Center of Southeast Indiana, and you have yours with Reach Out Pregnancy Care
Reach
Center.
Out Pregnancy Care Center is having their annual partnership banquet on October 4th. And so both of those are places that really celebrate and promote life and encourage healthy families. And so we are connected there. We volunteer and support, and you're president of the board of the PCC. And so we just want to pour into places that are about healthy families as well.
Right. And I bring this up because, I think sometimes the people just aren't even aware of the pregnancy care centers. And it is an incredible resource. People act like, well, they're only there to protect the unborn. And that is definitely part of what they do. But they're there for families.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they are there. And
they're an education center.
They're education. They're a medical facility in the sense of just testing and healthcare. Ultrasound. They're a counseling session or counseling resource. So there are so many things there. And I think if you don't know if you're not in our area, if you don't know about your pregnancy care centers, look into them because they're an incredible resource, and get involved, man. It's a great place.
I will tell you that, and I know for ours, and I'm sure it's for yours too, that we get a lot of calls not knowing that we are celebrating life and want to promote life, whether it be by having the baby or through adoption, right? Or walking alongside you as a single parent, or sometimes in a relationship. And so they'll call, and they're abortion-minded clients. And so our goal is to walk alongside those women and help them in whatever area they're looking for, but to honor and respect life. And so that's our goal. But it's just been a beautiful blessing to be a part of this movement of celebrating life and just helping walk alongside moms, regardless of how that pregnancy occurred.
Right. Yeah. So good stuff there.
Yeah.
All right. So last week we did our 200th show.
Yes.
And so we fooled you. You thought you were going to get part 2 of How We Love. And
that's kind of a programming faux pas of ours.
We just we were so busy.
Actually, here's the problem. We were planning on celebrating our 200th show, but we actually counted bad.
Yeah, we counted
so
bad.
So maybe our numbering was wrong or off or something. But
when we started talking about how we would do How We Love, we were originally thinking one show. We started talking about we can't cover this in one show.
Yep.
So anyway, you know what? It just all got messy. But we're still here. We're still alive and kicking. So now we are actually going to cover part 2 of How We Love. And so our first week, we were talking much more about just some of the impaired love styles, the things that get kind of messy, and we'll go into some of that. But hon, you actually were the one who got triggered first on this, okay? And so how did you come into all of these impaired loving styles and then healthy loving styles?
Yeah, so we have been working with clients in our office for 4 years, and you and I have been working with families and couples for decades. And so we love to get new resources. We love to get connected to things that are working well, right? And so one of the newer resources that I've really tapped into and used in the counseling room, the coaching room, is a book called How We Love. And it came about by a resource, New Life Ministries, that I listen to daily pretty much. And it's a group of counselors that do some online counseling, coaching on a radio program with call-in listeners. And so one of the counselors is an author, Milan Jurkovic, and he and his wife wrote this book, How We Love. And so it's been a great resource. It's been very helpful for us in our work with especially couples that really come in with some very dysfunctional, unhealthy love styles, patterns that they have kind of inherited, usually from the parents or as a response to their upbringing, and they carry that, they drag that into their marriage, and they have no idea why they're missing the mark or why they're misstepping with each other. And it's because they're doing 2 different dance steps.
when you think of a love style, I mean, think of it, as a lifestyle, in the sense of a lifestyle is something you get used to living over a period of time, and it just becomes a lifestyle that you're comfortable with. It's what you know. And the first time you kind of really discover that other people have other lifestyles is when you get married.
Yes, that's true.
And you go, you put your toothpaste there, you do this, you have different ways that you go about doing simple things in life that you never questioned, because in your family, this is how you just always did it, all right? And love's a lot the same way, and just how you have relationship and interact. And some of it works great and is really healthy, and some of it's not. Some of it you're like, oh yeah, in my house this is what we always did, and it was the only way I knew. And so that's a lot of what that really talks to.
So we really encourage you to go back to our August 29th show, which would have been 2 shows ago, where we really unpacked the 5 impaired love styles that How We Love kind of unpacked. And one of them is the avoider, and you can kind of guess what that looks like in your home. Maybe that's how you grew up. You just didn't talk about things. You brushed them under the rug. And maybe that's what you brought into your marriage, avoiding.
Yeah. And to the extreme is where we get into problems, right?
Yes.
There's actually a little assessments that you can take in this. And, you're going to check some boxes probably on all of these areas, but it's kind of the one that's most significant, the one that you check the most boxes on. And the other one, the next one, the people pleaser, that's where I ended up checking the most boxes. And, a lot of that has to do with personality. A lot of it has to do with just your lifestyle that you were brought up in, where, I just didn't like a lot of conflict, didn't like yelling and screaming, and so I was just going to go ahead and be the good kid and do the things the right way. And sometimes you end up not always doing the right thing in the long run.
And it works for a while until people aren't appreciative of it, or you feel like you're getting used or abused. So the people pleasing, avoiding. The other one that we've talked about in our last show was the vacillator, which was
I kind of refer to that as a tool in the workshop. It just sounds like a tool in the workshop, a vacillator.
But it really is like stirring the pot and really never being happy. Like you idealize your marriage or your relationship so much that no one can ever measure up.
People walk on eggshells around you, right?
You're never really satisfied. And there's always something going on. And so that's a very unnerving, unhealthy love style. So vacillator is one.
And then there's the controller.
Yes.
Right? And the controller is that person who, intentionally or unintentionally, they have to have a significant amount of control, sometimes out of authority or pushing authority and power, but sometimes out of insecurity, because they get panicked when they're like, I need to know all the plan.
Right.
And that can choke off other people.
Yeah. And that comes out of a chaotic home usually. So you can become the controller, or you can go the exact opposite, and that is to roll over and be the victim.
Right.
And that's the 5th impaired love style, where you just like, it's woe is me, nothing ever is going to work right, I can't help it, there's nothing I can do, this is just how it is. And so that victim mentality, when it's brought into a marriage, can look really ugly and not be healthy for your relationship. So those are the 5 impaired love styles, and that's what we really covered and kind of unpacked in depth last show on August 29th. But we want to kind of steer away from the unhealthy and really talk about, because there is so many people that did not see healthy growing up. And what does healthy look like? And we really want to go to the Bible to find out, like, what does God want us to do in love?
Yeah, and so 1 John 4:11-12 says, "Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one has ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us, and his love is made complete in us." And so, we've talked many, many times about the word love, and we love pizza and we love people, right? We all, and so in our language, in English language, we kind of use and abuse loosely the word love, but it's just so much more than that. It's sacrificial, it's caring, it's actually empathy in terms of looking through somebody else's eyes. So there's so many different components to it. So it's much more complex than just saying, do you love me or not?
Right.
There's a lot of facets to it.
And in the Greek, there was actually 5 different words for what we call love, and the different kinds of love, whether it be brotherly love or erotic love or unconditional love. And so, but we don't want to really get into Greek today. We want to talk about, what does healthy love look like, whether it be in your marriage or other relationships. And so, Hun, give us one where we got to make sure that it looks like this.
Yeah. So, and we take this for granted. love has to be safe and secure.
Yeah.
In other words, it has to be a place where you can kind of be yourself, where you don't feel like you're going to be attacked. And even in good marriages, we see a lot of attacking going on. Yeah. And we see a lot of avoiding going on because we're afraid we might get attacked. And so we see these things that we go, well, I'm married to this person. So when we're talking about safe and secure, we're talking about being able to be who you are, all right? But your spouse be who they are.
Right.
And then, again, it doesn't mean you always stay exactly who you are.
Or
you
get along all the time.
Right, but you honor and respect each other in that process. And that's actually so often, hon, when you see people who are married for a long time, they say like, well, we've almost kind of become the same person because they just get each other and they answer the call of each other just because they understand, what that other person needs.
Yeah, and it's weird that you said that, like you don't even think about it until you're not in it.
Yeah.
And that's what we've had walking through our door a lot lately is almost to the level of abuse. In some cases it is abuse, where that person feels fearful and scared and unsafe. And so they're coming in shaking, literally, physically, because they don't feel safe and secure in that relationship. And so that's a warning sign that you're not in a healthy relationship. We want you safe, secure. We want you respectful. Does that mean we always agree? Because Merle and I don't always agree, but we're respectful.
I'm not answering that one. I'll get that one wrong. No.
But we're respectful toward one another. We have moments of disrespect, but the overarching theme is we respect and love one another.
Yeah. Well, so the word abusive comes into mind, right? But it's the safe and the secure because there are lots of different areas to this one. It is the physical safe and secure, but it is the emotional, it is the psychological, it is the spiritual. And so when we get off kilter here, that's when terms like the controller or the abuser or the abused, the victim, that's how those come into play. So great point there. Okay, give me another one that I know that I have to have this to have good, loving relationship.
Yeah. Well, this one, I've got to, actually, we were talking about this in our Rock Solid Marriage. I want to include this because, again, going into the emotionally abusive relationship, if it's not reciprocal, if it's not mutual, then it's not love. So in other words, if one person's kind of controlling it and the other person doesn't feel free to make choices or decisions or have opinions, then that's not love.
Right.
Okay. So it cannot be just one-sided. It needs to be mutual and reciprocal and free to speak your mind, even if, again, you disagree, but that you're not fearful or feel unsafe to share how you feel.
Yeah.
And that's a part of healthy love.
Yeah, that's good, and that's tough, right? Especially when you don't feel like you're getting your way.
Yes.
And we all kind of want our way, but the idea that we hear each other out and we have the give and take, right? Another part of this is that predictability of consistency. That the idea like when we talked about the vacillator, one day they're happy, one day they're yelling and screaming, one day they're demanding, one day they're a pushover, and it goes back and forth based off of mood or emotion or so many other insecurities that come into play. And so it is the consistent inconsistency that drives people crazy. And so there has to be a healthy, consistent behavior. In other words, I kind of know some basic patterns that my spouse has and that I have, and I can come to rely on those. And even if it's a negative thing, like even if there's a behavior that my spouse has that I don't particularly care for, I know what it is, and I can go, okay, well, she's upset about this, or I get it because I've seen this before. It doesn't mean it's like a terrible thing. It just, I get it, but it's that lack of predictability. It oftentimes, Hunter, reminds me of the severe levels of like when we have the bipolar personality, where, one day they walk in and we have this high level mania going on, and then the next level or a day of this deeper depression, and you'll hear people say, I never know what house I'm going to walk into.
Yes, I was just going to say, I never know which husband or which wife I'm going to get. Yeah, that's very inconsistent. And I don't want to skip over the whole kindness thing, the way that you speak to one another. not only respectful, but kind. And so if you're in a crowd or with a group of people and you're throwing each other under the bus, or you're getting, your sarcastic tone is getting great laughs, but your partner feels like, wow, that was kind of cruel, then that's not love, okay? And so that's manipulation, that's gaslighting, that's coercion. So be very careful in your words. It's not funny if your partner feels hurt by that. You know, we used to be very sarcastic with one another, and it got great laughs when we were teaching and presenting, but it wasn't very kind and respectful.
And, you know, I'm glad that you bring up the sarcasm, because probably, I don't know, 80, 90% of the time you can pull it off, right? You're in the right mood. You're in the good place, and it was funny. But it's really that 10 or 15% of the time where you can do a lot of damage, and those words stick. You know, well, I just said this last week to you, and you didn't get upset, and I said it today. Well, today I was in a different headspace. And so just being respectful in that way, I think that's really important. And, you know, it's not that we've totally lost some sarcasm, because I'd say sarcasm with some humor. But you first have to read each other. You know, you have to do a little temperature check of your spouse to say, hey, you know, how are you doing today?
Right.
And if you get to read and, you know, we're all in a pretty good
Joking
mood,
around,
you can get by with a little bit more. And this is just good reading of others, you know.
And, you know, a lot of that is how you were raised, you know, especially if you were raised in a home of boys where there's a lot of, you know.
Oh, man.
Again, boy humor, boy talk is different than when women are around. And so mom, if she's kind of the brunt of it, or one sister's kind of the brunt of it, you kind of get used to just tossing that around. And then you go into a marriage. You know, let's say you were raised with all boys, and then you go into a marriage and you have a wife and you just talk to her like you talk to your brothers. It doesn't go over very well. And it doesn't sound very loving. So you just need to be aware of that.
Yeah, gosh, I think in my own house, I mean, I grew up with a lot of harsh and coarseness and fun, right? Like, it wasn't.
Your twin brothers, man. When you three got around, I sometimes was in tears. I'm going to not. Ed and Ted, you guys put me in tears before.
Yeah. So. But the way that we show love is, I mean, if you're not totally throwing daggers at each other in a fun way, and so you start to realize, oh, I guess my wife doesn't respond well to that. So again, I hear that so often where guys come and maybe they work out in the construction world or whatever, and their mouth could be foul, or they could just be kind of hard in some of their humor, and they come home and I'll hear their wife say, "I'm not one of your construction dudes." Yeah. And so it's just being aware of what you're talking about.
Yeah. I would say another important component of healthy love is being honest and transparent, that you're not keeping secrets, okay? You're not forgetting to tell them the whole story, or leaving, you know, only speaking in half truths. That's not healthy love. And it's going to diminish the trust, and it's going to erode the relationship if you don't stay above reproach. And hun, we've been married 35 years. We still leave notes with each other. We still let each other know, hey, I'm going out for a run. I'll be back in an hour. Hey, I ran to the grocery. I'll be back in half an hour.
I would love to leave you a note that said I was out for a run and I'll be back in an hour. This body doesn't do that anymore.
Maybe it's bike ride.
Okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
But the running days, not so much. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's really important that I don't have to leave a note, but I want to continue to be honest and transparent and keep no secrets. I don't care if you know where I'm at, because I have nothing to hide. You know, I don't care if you check my phone. I have nothing to hide. And so when you keep those passwords, and when you don't let someone see your emails or the texts that are coming through, or know where you're at, man, something's off.
Yeah, and I don't know. I just think it's kind of out of the respect for each other, as we talked before. You know, it's kind of out of the respect for each other that you're going to honor each other in that way. So, honesty and transparency. Yep. You know, I don't know. I was working with a couple once, and they're like, "Do I have to tell them everything?" Well, you know, I just think there's good judgment here. When you think there's something that your partner needs to be involved in, a lot of times when we talk about money or we're talking about the kids, I mean, I've dropped the ball and stuff like that where I I don't know. I just
Forgot
didn't
to tell me.
think. Yeah, and it, but I also don't feel like you are looking over my back to see what I'm doing, because then that gets. I'm apparently either you're paranoid or I've given you reason to be paranoid,
Yeah.
and so we have to tackle that to say, listen, are you overly paranoid, or am I just not being consistent enough in my honesty that I'm leaving some doubt?
So, this all leads to trust, right? We're trying to build trust. And so if you and your partner are kind of waffling in this, I would ask them, like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you trust me? And what can I do to raise that bar, to raise that number? And so maybe it is one or the other things that you're really not even thinking it's a big deal. Like, you don't care if they have the password to your phone, but you've never given it to them. And that partner is struggling because they don't have it. So maybe just ask, like, what do you need from me? Because I don't want to have any secrets. I don't want there to be anything that breaks down our trust. So ask.
Man, trust is, if I had to prioritize, like, which one of these is the most important, it is trust, because it really is what all of these other things are attached to. Like, if you're disrespectful or respectful to me, like, well, I don't trust that you'll respect me. Well, I don't trust that you'll tell me the truth. Well, and so everything in a relationship is based off the idea of that I know that your words and your actions are always going to match, and if it doesn't, I can't even think of, like, when people come to us, there's always a trust breakdown. I mean, almost always there's a trust breakdown, and there's no easy way to just snap your fingers and make it reappear.
Actually, I've had couples before where they would say, I trust him. And I was like, wow, okay, well, we're starting off on a good foot then. Maybe there is an issue with a family member or whatever. But when I hear they trust each other, then I know we're in a healthy place to build off of. But when the trust has been broken, somebody's betrayed or, got stabbed in the back, then it kind of like, okay, we gotta work on rebuilding that, right?
And oftentimes it's, trust covers all these different areas. So I might trust you with our money, but I don't trust you with your talk, right? Or, so we have different pockets. So in general, I trust that you're going to be a great provider, or I trust that you're going to be a great caregiver, but I don't trust what you do with your time.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's always these little pockets that can get really messy.
Yeah. And so I think that trust builds off of the next one, and that is a balance between being together and being apart. And so I've had couples that said, I feel smothered. He or she won't let me do A, B, or C. And I just want to warn you that if you've not done the work to establish and build that trust, then yes, they're going to wonder, are you really going golfing with your friend? Or are you going to see that girl? Or are you really going to work? Or are you going to, whatever. So you need to make sure that the reason why they're struggling with this balance of go do your thing. Yeah, I want you to go on a bike ride. I want you to go play golf. But if I don't trust you, then it's gonna really wear down of how I respond. Yeah,
freedom is really, in another way of looking at it, freedom is actually a control issue. It's you having control of yourself. I have to be able to have control of myself. That's a sense of freedom to me. Like, I can kind of do what I want to do. And still freedom within that marriage, within our relationship. So you have to have a sense of freedom or control of things that you want to do. I have to have a sense of freedom in my world as well. And so if there's not that, if we don't have a little bit of our own person, okay, we can really just find ourselves like, where did I go?
Yeah. But you got to be careful, because if you've broken trust, if you have abused that freedom and had an affair, or you're watching pornography after your wife goes to bed or whatever, then if you want to rebuild trust, you're going to have to give up a little bit of that freedom and make sure that you're doing the things that your partner needs to feel loved and respected and safe and secure and loved. And so when we break trust, then there's work to do.
Yeah, the rules are not really the same. Once trust is broken, then the rules actually have to change because we're in the healing mode. And so you might say, say, well, I want her to trust me, but I still want to be able to go out and play golf when I did. It's like, no, for right now, your efforts are on a healing effort.
Yes.
And so when your body goes to heal, it actually steals energy from other parts of the body. That's why actually, like if you break your leg, your body will kind of be in a depressive state so that it can take the energy and focus it in on healing. So you won't have quite the energy or motivation to do some things. And it's just because it's got to focus on the healing. And the other parts of the body could go, well, that's not fair. Well, this is our way.
Healing time.
And so the same thing when we have a brokenness in the marriage, we are going to lose some of that freedom or motivation and energy. But it's okay if we understand we're in healing time.
Season. Yeah. So all of the things that we just described really are involved with healthy boundaries. And in a healthy marriage, healthy love, healthy relationship, we have healthy boundaries where we know what's our responsibility and what's not, what is in our control and what we are responsible for. And so, for instance, if you had a girlfriend that you would see regularly and she was your best friend and it was somebody that wasn't me, that's unhealthy boundaries.
Right.
I should be that person that you trust in and that you lean on. And so we've got to be really careful in healthy love that we protect our relationship by having healthy boundaries, whether it be how much time you spend in the office, how much time you spend with your buddies drinking at the bar, whether that's how much time you spend with a coworker who happens to be of the opposite sex. Those are all important things that you got to have around your relationship to protect it and keep it healthy.
Boundaries have to be built through a level of consensus. You don't just say, from now on, this is what you have to do, okay? Especially in a healthy starting marriage when we're trying to get things together. We're not commanding and demanding as much as we're saying, hey, how can we protect our marriage, all right? And so when the two of you establish, you know what, I think that would be good. That would be good, all right? Then it's just so much easier. But if we are already falling apart and you have to start saying, from now on, this is the boundary, it just becomes a whole lot harder to swallow that. So we really wanted to build the boundaries for the two of us to be effective in protecting the marriage.
Which leads me to one of our last ones that we didn't even have on the list, but it's so important, and that is daily dialogue. You have got to invest in your relationship, whether it be your marriage or whatever relationship you're focusing on that you want to get healthy. There's got to be daily dialogue so that you can process some of these conversations without buildup, without resentment, without like miscommunication, without avoiding hard conversations. Like if it's daily talked about, if you're working through things that come up, whether it be happen this morning or later this evening, and you're not letting it fester and grow and kind of get infected, then you're going to stay healthy. And so communication is critical. And I would say that's probably the number one thing when our couples come in for a rock solid marriage, they would say that's what's fallen apart.
And it's actually the fastest tool that they find to work well for them.
Yes.
When we set them up on, okay, it's going to sound kind of mechanical, it's going to sound kind of basic, but when they start saying 10 minutes, 15 minutes every day. But here's the key, the reason why we oftentimes we don't do this well is because of the very first thing we talked about. Safety and security. We're just not sure how these harder subjects might land. Am I going to get attacked, or am I going to be feeling attacked? Am I going to get defensive? And so you have to set some simple ground rules of, you know what, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen to what you have to say, and I'm going to let you say it, and I'm just going to take it in. I don't need to excuse it. I don't need to defend it. I just need to take it in. And so there's some rules to good dialogue when you just give each other that space, okay? And so, it's critical. And, can we just say, like, this is not just Lynn and I work in the same office. Have you ever tried that with your spouse?
We have a little door that slides between us.
And so it just can't be that. Like, we see each other a lot through the day, but that's not the type of talk. And we actually we revisit this idea of, you know what, we need to just talk a little bit about not work and not anything else. Let's just check in with each other and make sure, I always ask, you never ask a guy how you're feeling, okay? Because guys are like, what is that? But you can't ask a guy, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
how are you doing? And so you ladies out there, your husband's not going to be big with a lot of feeling words. He can learn some of those over time, but I guarantee you, if you just ask your husband when he comes in and you sit down and you get a drink or whatever, and you just say, "So how are you doing?" Mm-hmm. Oh, he's ready to talk, because that's guy language. Guys all of the time say, "Hey, how you doing, dude? How you doing?" And so the dialogue can begin, and then you can start to open up to a little bit deeper of, I had a tough day, or I was really upset about this today, or angry, or whatever. So anyway.
So part of that is the active listening process of listening and reading in between the lines and really getting to the heart of what your partner is saying. And so we've got to do a better job of listening to understand, for our partner, the people that we love, if we want to be healthy, for them to feel heard and understood, that they have a safe place to go with their feelings, with their day, with their frustrations, and they're not going to be attacked or minimized or put down. And so, man, that's part of that healthy love, man. But you're right. When we get this right, man, the other stuff just kind of flows. And I see giddiness happening with couples in this healthy love stage, where they're really like, just by daily checking in and feeling heard and understood and supported and encouraged and comforted, or whatever they need that day, it is amazing how much that just enriches the relationship. It's fun to see. All right.
Very good. So, hey, here's a challenge for you. All right. So we've gone through some of the not so healthy love styles. Okay. The things that we talked about in the part 1 back in August. And now you hear what we talked about today. Here's your challenge. It's time to become aware.
Yeah.
Like which impaired love styles do we tend to gravitate towards, and we're seeing more and more of? Call it out, identify it, okay? And if you need help with that, like contact us, or you can read yourself How We Love. Like you have to become aware, because remember, good living styles or love styles or bad come through repetition. They come through patterns of living, okay? And so if you don't become aware, you'll just continue the same pattern, all right? So becoming aware, and then becoming aware of some of the things that we just went through on our list here. Something we did not put on our list that we we didn't talk anything about intimacy or affection.
Oh, hello.
So healthy relationships.
We didn't have that on our list.
I know. Well, see, I'm the one that went, oh, wait a minute, we're missing something here. And so we have to definitely have the discussion so that we can have all of these things of intimacy and physical touch and sex and all of the honoring of each other. And I have to be aware, and I have to be able to have that conversation. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to bring intimacy into this, which we should have, I mean, that's part of that.
That's why I brought it in. That's actually part 3. We're just not going to do it right now.
Which we actually did a whole show on intimacy. And, there is the emotional intimacy, which is really what we're talking about here, developing that safe place, feeling heard and understood, loved and respected. Then the physical intimacy.
That's what I was talking about.
Which really comes, honestly, when we feel safe, when we feel heard, when we feel supported. Then it draws us into that physical intimacy. But honestly, on the third intimacy, which is the critical for us, we believe at Rock Solid Families, is the spiritual intimacy, that there's oneness, one flesh, and we've done a whole show on that, where Christ is our center, He is our foundation that we are building our marriage on. Rock Solid Marriage, which is our online coaching program, our 10-week 7-step online coaching program that we do for couples, is all about building on that foundation of Christ and how we get healthy. And so if you're interested in Rock Solid Marriage, give us a call at 812-576-ROCK, 812-576-ROCK, or you can reach us on our website at rocksolidfamilies.org. We are here to walk alongside you to help you get healthy. That's what we're here for.
All right. So we want to thank our sponsors. We want to thank Casey's Outdoor Solutions and Maxwell Construction for, again, continuing to be behind us. We also want to thank all of our supporters and contributors, whether it's prayer, whether it's encouragement, whether it is finance, whatever it is. We greatly appreciate you guys and help us continue to get these types of messages out. This is how we actually start to change so much of we see that is not healthy in our love styles, in our families, and so on. So we just want to, again, I messed this up really bad last time.
You did, the last couple of times.
If you did not listen to our 200th show, I want you to listen to the whole thing, but just for kicks, fast forward to the very end, and you can just watch me fall all over myself.
You've only done it 200 times. You want to try it again?
I'm nervous now. I'm
can do
nervous. All right. So thanks again for listening to Rock Solid Radio, building a stronger community, one family at a time. Make it a great day. Bam!
Way to go on
that
the
was
first try.
one hit. All right, very good.
Rock Solid Radio wants to thank Maxwell Construction, who has been our sponsor since the very beginning. For over 30 years, Maxwell has delivered the highest quality projects by holding to their core values of customer satisfaction, positive attitude, respect, and excellence. So if you have any kind of commercial construction need, give Maxwell Construction a call today at 812-537-2200.